Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I will be teaching you all how to make the Kandi Starfish. Today you will be needing scissors, string, and some beads. Let's get into it. I took around an arm's length worth of string and I tied it to my candy needle. Now to start, we will add on 5 beads. And run them down all the way almost to the end of our string. And then we would tie it off. After tying it off and cutting off the tiny end of the string, this is what it should look like right now. Now I'm going to move my string into one of the beads over. Then I will start adding on 1 bead in between each space. It should look like this. Now we're going to be doing this all the way around until we get back to right here. I'm now ready to add on my final bead. So I'm going to be going through this bead here and also this bead here. Make sure to pull everything nice and tight. And now you have a little star. Right. Now this is where things change. Instead of adding 1 bead and connecting each point, we will be adding on 2 beads. And then I will be running it through this point here. And pull everything nice and tight. I will show you guys again. 2 beads on and going through the next point. Once again, we are going to go all the way around until we get to this section right here. So now I'm ready to add on my final 2 beads, and I will be going through this bead here and the first bead that we added. Pull everything nice and tight. Now it should look something like this. Oh. The reason we are coming out of this first bead and not the second bead is because we're going to add on 2 more beads and then go through this bead. Here, I will show you. So I already have my 2 beads on my string. I will pull everything nice and tight. And it should be sitting on top of those 2 first beads just like this. Now, see, we have a space here. And now this is where we take our mini beads. You don't have to use mini beads, but this is technically what is recommended. So I will be taking my mini beads and I will be going also through this first black bead here. Like that. Pull everything tight, and there is my mini bead. Woo, mini bead. Once again, I will show you guys again. Add on 2 black beads. Go through the second bead over. Okay. Once again, we're doing this all the way around until we get to right here. I am now ready to add on my final 2 black beads. So I will be going through this bead here. Pulling everything nice and tight. Now I'll be adding on my final mini green bead. And I'll also be going through this black bead here and the first black bead that we added. Going to be a little tricky, so we're going through this black bead and then the first black bead that we added, so we're going through these 2 here. And then you pull everything tight, and now it should look something like this. Once again, we are adding on 2 black beads and going through the next bead over. pulling everything tight. So now we have these gaps here. So here I will be adding on a yellow mini bead, and I'll be going through the green mini bead here. And pulling everything tight. Then I will be adding on a blue mini bead, and I will be going through this first black bead here. Just like that. And once again, we will be adding on 2 black beads. And going into the next bead over. Again, we are going to do this all the way around until we get to right here. So I already added on my final 2 black beads here. So now we're going to add on our final mini beads. I will be adding on a yellow mini bead and going through the green. And then I will be adding on a blue, and I'll be going through this bead and this bead, these 2 beads right here. It might be a little difficult without a needle, but it's okay. All right, here's where we are so far. Okay, so now this is going to be different as well. So we are now done with adding the double beads. Now we're only going to add 1 bead. So I'm adding on 1 bead, then I'm going through the next bead over, and now it should create a point. Now I will be adding on, since there are spaces here, I'll be adding on some more mini beads. So I'll be adding on a pink, and then I will be going through the yellow, then I'll be adding on a red, and going through the blue here, pulling everything tight, and lastly I'll be adding on an orange and going through this first black bead. Once again, I'll be adding on only 1 black bead and going through the next black bead over. Once again, we will be going all the way around until we get to right here. I already added on my final black bead, and now I'm going to be adding on my last 3 mini beads. So I'll be going on a pink and going through the yellow there, pulling everything tight. Then I'll be adding on a red, and I'll be going through the blue, and finally I'll be adding on my last bead, which is an orange, and I shall be going through this bead and this bead here. So that bead, and then the first bead we added. And then here, I'm just going to go down 1 more bead because I do not want to tie it off at the very point. And now here is where we tie it off. And this is part 1, and I'll show you part 2 in a second. So just like last time, I'll be adding on 5 beads and running them all the way down to the end of my string and then tying it off. Now with everything tied off and the short end cut, I will be moving my string over 1 bead. And now we can start actually adding on beads. So I'll be putting 1 black bead in between each spot. Basically, we are just remaking the starfish up until a certain point. And again, we are going to add another bead and going into the next bead over, pulling everything tight. We're going to be doing this all the way around until we get to right here. Now ready to add on our last bead, so I'll be going through this bead and the first bead that we added. Now I will pull everything tight, and now you have a star. Now in between each point we'll be adding 2 beads. Like that. Once again, in between each point, we will be adding 2 beads. Again, we will be doing that all the way around until we get to right in this section here. Now ready to add on my last 2 beads. So I will be going through this black bead and the first black bead that we added. I will pull everything tight, and it should look something like this. Now I will be adding on 2 beads and going in through the next black bead over. Then in between the space, I will be adding a green mini bead and going into that first black there. Once again, I'll be adding on 2 regular black beads, and I will be going into the next black bead over. Pull everything tight, and we will be doing this all the way around until we get to right here. I already added on my final black beads, that would be right here, and then I will be going on my green, so it will go through this bead and the first bead that we added. Like that. Once again, we will be adding on 2 black beads and going through the next black bead over. I am sorry for rushing through this part because we have already done this before in the earlier part of the video, so I thought it would be unnecessary to go super slow. Now I'll be adding on a mini yellow bead, and I'll be going through the green bead. Then I'll be adding on a blue, and I'll be going through the first black bead. Again, we'll be adding 2 regular black beads and going through the first black bead over. Now, we're going to do this all the way around until we get to around this section right here, and I will show you guys what to do. I already added on my final 2 black beads and my final yellow mini bead. So, I will be taking my blue, and I will be going through this bead here, and then the first bead that we added. Now, this is where we stop, as we are going to connect the 2 stars together. You do not have to tie this part of your star off, but I will. So after I'm done tying that off, I will show you guys what to do next. So I finally finished tying off this part 2 of my star. So now I'll be going into the next bead over, which is this bead here. Now I will bring over my other star, which is this star, and I will be sewing them together. So basically, I will be going in through the pink, like so. Then I'll be going in through the blue, like that. And then I'll be going into this red over here. Making sure not to get anything tangled. And right now I will pull everything tight. It will look messy. It's going to look messy. That's a thing. It's going to be messy. Now I will be going into the yellow and into the orange. So into the yellow, pull everything tight, then into the orange. Like that. So basically, we are just sewing the stars together. That is the easiest way for me to say it. Well, now that we are at this point section, I am going to be going from this orange into this side of the star on this bead here. I know it's hard to see. So this bead, this one. So I'll be going through there and pull everything tight. Now I will be going through the point, then I'll be exiting through the other bead, which is on the same side that we entered on. I get it's a little weird because it's usually not like how we're used to it, but this is how it is, and it's, once you get the hang of it, it is pretty simple. And that is pretty much it, guys. And once I'm done, I will show you guys the finished product, and then we will go from there. Alright, so I finished tying it off. What I basically did was I just moved down to one of the mini beads and just tied it inside, which is okay because it hides it really well. Well, that is pretty much it, guys. You have officially made your first Starfish candy cuff. I hope you guys liked this tutorial. If you did, I recommend liking and subscribing. Thank you so much. Bye!